Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Resident Evil 4. I exited out of the game, so we may have a bit of a situation here in that some of the tweak settings that I messed with as far as zooming out and getting a wider field of view may have not locked in, but instead of messing with that, we will choose to stick with this. Now, there's a guy here, and they're just not going to let you walk by. You'd almost, like, I've always wondered if it would be interesting to see a game where the protagonist that you're playing as doesn't actually have to shoot anybody, and it's just assumed that you do. It's not the case here. I will grant you that. Like, let's see. You can't knife that, so you have to shoot that. And then, as soon as you do that, that is the start of them coming towards you, and you can hear the musical trick. Let's see. Like, just trying to get a kick in on these guys is not good enough. It's just so, like, in early game, you can do that kind of trickery and try and save your bullets. Eventually, it's not going to really matter so much about bullets, but playing on normal, playing on a more difficult setting than you probably should in your first run does open up that danger. I guess you can't look at this. The dog, I think you hear it in this area, but I don't know if you actually interact with it in this area. Like, I'm not even sure that is the same dog. Let's go ahead and get 1 of 15, which that's nice that the game tells you that. The general idea here is you want to kind of take out the enemies in a kind of sweeping pattern if you can, not drag them all into one group. There's not really a reason to kill the cows. We learned that in the first room, the first area. There really isn't a reason to kill the chickens, because the more you leave the chickens alive and potentially run up to them and irritate them, the more they will it's just telling you to shoot the blue medallions for reward. The reward is totally worth it. This game never screws you over and has you waste a bunch of bullets. But yeah, as far as I understand it, the more you wander around and have the chickens running around, the higher the chance of... Where was that sound from? Yeah, the higher chance you have of an egg dropping, which increases your chances of a golden egg dropping. Let's go. Golden eggs can be sold or they can be used as full health. They are more worthwhile as being sold items because they take very little inventory. Now here we have a case of me wasting a lot of resources in bullets trying to shoot this, and that jitter and that dead zone is just really bad. He's just gonna try and throw axes at me. So if you get all 15 instead of 10, I don't know if you get a bigger reward, but it certainly comes with a sense of satisfaction. This is kind of the first time you open a cabinet in the game, which that effectively doubles resources. What's weird about all of this, however, is definitely the case that you are not running into the salesman anytime soon yet. So you can't push it that way. So that there is just kind of this general faith you have to take that the point of shooting the blue medallions is worth it, and that the picking up of all these resources is worth it. It creates a kind of weird situation where you might want to start playing the game all over a second time if you got to the shopkeeper and then somehow realized that you had missed quite a bit as far as treasures and items. We have a decent amount of bullets and quite a nice amount of everything else. If I equip this, though, I probably can do that, but that's potentially stupid. Also, the game's telling you where you're supposed to go. Because now, interesting, D-pad moves the controller. I didn't think the D-pad was moving this character. Maybe that was a different game I was playing recently. You do get like a free bullet upgrade, which might be worth your effort to upgrade on some of the weapons. Although, in all fairness, most of the time when you run into a shopkeeper, you've probably already refilled and used all of your items. So I've never really had great luck getting bullet upgrades. When we come back to this area, we will fight more people. And that is the first beer stein treasure. I want to hit right bump and left bump to switch between these, but it doesn't react immediately. So the beer stein can combine things, not spinels, which don't combine with anything. 3 recessions on the side, I wonder what they're for. So you need to find those 3 gems to add to it in your run. If you miss a single one, you're not going to get as much gold. You would think in a more modern game there probably would be a couple of beer steins and then somewhere around 7 or 8 of the right gems that you would need. Inherently, the reboot series of Resident Evil, I don't think is encouraging the multiple gameplay concept over and over again that you would have in the original Resident Evil games. Like this one in particular really wants you to play the game 2, 3, 4 times in a row. I know Resident Evil 3 had hunk modes and that's just a cow. And tofu modes and just a lot of extra reasons. I'm trying to get to the files. But all I can do is left bump to get here, right bump to get here. So to get to the files, you have to go up and select it. 7 in the farm, 8 in the cemetery. For those who destroy 10 or more, you'll be awarded. We've found 6 on the farm. The reason I am double swiping on this is because sometimes there's snakes. There's number 7. And then you've got to kind of remember the cemetery later. And I'm fairly certain that we can't go the direct direction we want to go. So I am going the right direction. It's also just not really worth it to run back and try and save multiple times. And while they will tell you about the blue medallions in the game, they're not going to handhold you as far as a lot of the other jewelry things. Okay, so no, we're not at that point yet. So we are going this way. Yeah, because we cross over this point once or twice, it's confused in my mind. Can we get to the map though? Just to point out here, like we are here, we're going this way, and then we'll eventually kind of wrap back in this whole village area. And here is the cemetery with the blue medallions, and it just straight up tells you what the blue medallions are. So it's not a big deal. Effectively, you start in this branch, and then it's a X shape where you can go in 3 other directions, and then these branches end up with something happening, and then you needing to work your way back towards the center village a couple times, and then eventually you get to this point and this giant lake, and once you cross the lake, that's it for the village section. That seems like that would be fairly quick, but honestly it isn't. It's, if you play it slowly and carefully, exactly You know what? Let's go save. This is probably being too cautious for no reason. And I guess this goes to show you that just going back won't cause enemies to trigger. But we're about to run into a quick time event, which normally speaking I wouldn't be concerned about a quick time event, but there is a potential here where I'm not going to hit the right buttons, or it's not going to show me the right button prompts. I guess it's more of just a case that the dog is running around in this area to remind you about the dog, which is kind of funny because they kind of want you to forget about the dog and then remember him later. Right. This could be really a nightmare. Alright, so I'm getting a prompt of pressing X, and I'm pressing X, so hopefully that's right, and then left and right trigger. There we go. We did it. Good. Nice little confirmation as far as what the button prompts would be, because that would have been a little concerning. You never really get up here, so you can like shoot them, but it's practically just a waste of bullets. What I'm looking for also is it's funny it's not subtitled. I'm looking for potentially birds' nests. I don't think there's maybe but 2 in the whole game, and they are all in this first act. But yeah, if we could get birds' nests that have items in them worth taking. Interesting. You can shoot bats, but I don't think I've ever shot the bats in the game before. Seems like they soak up more bullets than you would expect. Yeah, let's not waste bullets and instead swing our knife around wildly. Interesting. I guess the general idea is that they maybe thought about using bats instead of birds, but they gave up on it, except for in that one little section. Because yeah, that is definitely not something that happens later. Again, the same signpost. So we've got a guy, and then you've got a exploding section. I think there's a guy somewhere that's throwing grenades or TNT. There's bear traps that you can easily miss. Yep. That's why we've got there we. It's nice you can actually. Here's a spider. Can you shoot the spider? Apparently so. It's nice and kind of even groundbreaking for the time to be able to shoot TNT out of the air. and blow somebody up. And yeah, we're in trouble now. Using a chicken egg. Probably a bit of a waste. Let's just... It probably is helping you even on easy to actually get those shots. It just doesn't really seem... Yeah, it doesn't really seem like you would hit those shots. Remember also this was originally a GameCube game, so it would make a lot of sense. This room definitely implies to me that in the village section, that one building where there is nothing could very well have been intended to be a room like this, where there would have been people just lobbing grenades. And then you have kind of just like an invisible wall here, and you can hear this banging, which in a horror game certainly could be very spooky. Yep. I kind of wonder if these buildings were even in here in the non-remastered version. I would think they would be, because at a certain point you're not remastering or HDifying a game if you're just straight up adding buildings. Yep. It's only penalty if you don't shoot those, but also just like no reward for wasting a bullet to shoot them. Yeah, I would think it would be crossing a certain line artistically to add to someone's art versus HDifying an art or redoing the texture. At a certain point, yeah, it stops becoming touching up the Mona Lisa, and it starts becoming adding eyebrows to the Mona Lisa. Alright, so that's one easily missed. And I don't remember where all these things are. And that significantly will increase the value of that beer stein. Yeah, it is very possible I'm going to miss it. Miss one of the collectibles. Like, even though I've played this game quite a bit, it is still not memorized to me. And honestly, before Portal, this totally would have been my favorite game. Take some handgun ammo. Very ominous background music. Really should take an opportunity to save every time you can. Particularly as I'm trying to overwrite these other save files from test runs. There's no way of knifing this. This is kind of one of the few things that you can't shoot a little bit and then run up a knife. The knife is by far the most overpowered weapon in the game. But fairly obviously, if you ran up and tried to knife a explosive thing, it would explode in your face. You can combine 2 greens into a stronger health kit, and then you can even combine a 3rd green herb into an even stronger health kit, but that's not what you want. You want to find all the greens, reds, and yellows you can find and do that. Absorb it that way to increase your max health. Yeah. I kind of don't even imagine it would be much of a better experience if you're trying to speedrun if you did skip health upgrades. It's just not, I think, that slow of a process. So you have something here in the closet where this easily could have been, or in the cabinet chifforobe, this easily could have been a boss fight, but instead you jump to this cutscene. There isn't as smooth of a transition as you'd expect in a modern game.
A little rough, don't you think?
And he is a character that will probably be rewritten or completely removed from the remake.
Not like them?
Because
no,
he is very much a fountain of sleazy comments and joke comments. He's not even that important of a character, really.
Perfect. The big cheese.
What?
So this is how you get introduced to your first main boss. And you just try to do your super kick abilities and it totally doesn't work. And that's the end of the chapter. Enemy kills 35, number of times killed none. Hit ratio 68%, which I say that's pretty high. Honestly. No complaints there for playing on normal. The only real complaints we could run into is if we missed a treasure or if I wasted a whole bunch of bullets, which I'm not expecting that to be a problem.
Let us give you our power.
Storyline wise, if I can be a video game critic around the actual story here, it is kind of weird to introduce the sub-boss and then the main boss of the entire game. Yeah. But I guess at some point in the rewriting of the story and figuring out at which point they were going to actively try and infect Leon, they decided this was the best point to do it.
Crawl out of one hole and into another.
Arguably, this might also mean that he's infected, so his super kicks get stronger.
See? Now what brings a bloke like you to this part of the world? Oh, hey, easy, whoever you are.
Name's Leon.
The cuff
Came here looking for this
textures
Seen her?
and finger textures still kind of look a little rough,
Cop or something?
but
Nah, you don't look the
I really can't expect too much even for the fan-made remod. The earlobe textures, the hair textures, those are all things that would improve greatly in a remake.
Want to start explaining?
Psychic powers. Nah, just kidding with you, amigo. I overheard one of the villagers talking something about the president's daughter in the church.
So I guess the idea here is that this guy is supposed to have been injured
And who might you
somewhat, and so he's not under direct control
Used to be a cop in Madrid.
of
Now I'm
the
just a good-for-nothing guy
cult leaders and the bad guys, and that's why he attacks
Why'd you quit?
at this point when
Policia.
you really
put your
wouldn't
life
have
on the
wanted to
line.
attack these
Nobody
people
really
after you've
appreciates
infected
you
them.
enough for it.
And noticeably,
Being a hero isn't what it's cracked up
Lewis
to be
here
anymore.
really should have been turned
be a
into
cop
a
myself.
monster as a
Only
boss.
for a day, though.
Like, he should have
I thought I was
succumbed
bad.
to the infection.
Somehow I managed to get myself
then that would have
involved with the
given
incident in Raccoon City on
an
my first
example
day in the
of
force.
That
what's
is
going to
the
happen to
incident with the viral
Leon
outbreak,
if he
right?
doesn't get an antidote.
I think I might have seen a sample of the virus in a lab at the department.
Why in the world would there be a sample of the T-virus, or whatever virus it was in Raccoon City?
After you. Now.
A and X, which is kind of an odd combination of buttons that you just would never see in a QuickTime event. And that's all you have to do as far as a QuickTime event, where that could have easily just been a cutscene still. If you were going to do more with Lewis, you would make him slightly untrustworthy, prove that he is trustworthy and a good companion, and then at the drop of a hat, turning him into a monster. Salazar being able to maybe just trigger it
but apparently
in
there's a secret
Lewis.
passage in the village that leads there. I'm heading back to the village.
Alright. So we got no bullets and no health refills. There are a lot of boxes here that in a modern game you'd expect you could... well, even when I was originally playing this game, I would have expected that I could have sliced a lot of this, and this would have been an area of a lot of like health refills or something to really help you. Or that you could pick up the shovel and use that. The axe and the zombie completely gone, completely dissolved. And I suppose it's worth pointing out, we are just in a completely different place. We started down this way into that building, and I'm not sure that you even get this path that connects to that path. I think that may literally just be an implication that that's where the bad guys went to get to this. Or it may very well be that this is just a cave. I think really this is just a cave, and they're like connecting the map in a weird way, because when we do get to this point, it really doesn't feel like that cave here should be anywhere near that building. But yeah, they've just moved you all the way here, which lets you go this way without having to go back fully this way yet. There's definitely an alternate version of this game where
over here, stranger,
where you would have had to walk backwards and forwards multiple times. It's kind of a shame that we never... You should just save every time. There were other versions of earlier Resident Evil games where you had to have actual typewriter ink to save, so you would limit the number of saves to when you really needed to, but they got rid of that. Good riddance by my opinion. Here you have a flag of Salazar. It's a shame we never really see the shopkeeper again. It wouldn't make the most sense for him to show up and be in any of the other games, although I guess maybe he could have shown up in something like Resident Evil Village. He's perhaps a little too corny of a character, and that's the problem with him. You can just like totally walk past him.
Interest you. Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
One of the problems I would say with why he didn't come back is simply because Capcom experimented way too much with he's mentioning the blue medallions around in the village. Come back after you've shot 10 or more of them, and I've got a specialized gun I want you to try out.
What are you selling?
Now, it's insane to ever sell ammo unless you just really don't have any space. It might make some sense to sell flash grenades or even hand grenades if we needed um, a thing there. Brown chicken eggs are worth 600 pesadas, or pitas. A green herb alone is worth 500. A green and red is worth 2,000, but it would also be pretty insane to sell that. If you really wanted to sell anything, you would sell the first aid spray. Spindles, though, have no value otherwise, so, and the shop never improves. So selling them now for 12,000 makes sense.
Thank you.
That leaves me up to 50,000. This pearl necklace will sell for 10,000 and can't be improved. It could have been worse, though, had I not shot the lid of the sister in the well. Had I not closed that before I shot the pearl pendant down, it would have fallen in the water and gotten dirty and been worth about half that.
Thank you.
And then with just one of the 3 gems, this is worth 10,000.
What are you buying?
So, immediately we could upgrade our size of our case. We could skip the treasure map in the village for 3,000, or we could take it and just be certain. We need to buy the rifle. It's nice to buy the TMP. It's way too early to buy the rocket launcher. Scopes are kind of unnecessary. And we may just be full on health kits.
Is that all, stranger? Thank you.
So by buying that,
is that all, stranger?
And then buying that, we are now able to move some stuff around.
Is that all,
Let's
stranger?
just for safety buy the treasure map.
Thank you.
The problem here is until you have your case upgraded, which we can only go to medium at the moment, having the TMP just is going to end up taking more space. And I don't know if I agree with that as an idea. Handgun capacity for 4,000 will get me 2 bullets, but
is that all,
not a terrible thought. The other problem here, of course, is that once these firepower gets up really high,
thank you,
then your handgun has like this special unlocked ability once everything is maxed. That is that 5th dot down at the bottom.
Is that thank you.
And yeah, you really would want to focus on that.
What are you selling?
See, if we were going to get really desperate now, selling incendiary grenades, which we don't really need them. Yeah, like I am basically stocking up for a boss battle that is fairly far away.
Is that all, stranger?
Yeah, there's really no need for a flash grenade, so we could sell that just to make space. We could sell that, but that's kind of it. I think we'll just leave it at that.
Welcome.
When you talk to him,
what are you buying?
It says list updated, but really isn't.
What are you buying?
The rocket launcher is super powerful, but there are a couple instances in which it is still not quite what you need for some bosses, but Or at least you need to get a boss into a specific state before you can use a rocket launcher on them. Alright. We'll go and combine that. Yeah. I think I have to sell the incendiary grenades and the flash grenades. It could be a mistake.
What
Certainly,
are you selling? Is that all? Thank you.
Just by getting rid of all of those,
Thank you.
that helps you fairly well. The shotgun arguably is the thing that's not that useful.
What are you buying?
And then there's this other problem where this first handgun is kind of going to be replaced with another handgun that fires faster, and having a gun that fires faster is not actually that useful.
Not enough cash, stranger. Not enough cash, stranger. What are you buying?
Yeah, selling all of that stuff didn't actually
What are you selling?
give me enough items. So yeah, no matter what I sell, I just won't have enough to go any further. I guess if I died too, that would be less of a real issue, because my health might refill for free. Right. So you have here a lot of people. Now, you would definitely think that there would be a way to switch weapons with a weapon wheel, which noticeably this game does not have a weapon wheel. That technology not so standardized. So we're gonna kind of listen for the door and see if anybody has decided to come to the door. We can hear engagement happening. Here we go. So let's start waiting. Yeah. So every time you come back to this, you have a limitation of just like, are they going to get close to you, or is it going to even constantly just spawn enemies? The problem there is I just shot somebody fairly far off, and because I shot somebody fairly far off, it spawned some bullets that'll almost certainly despawn. and see. Some of these are programmed to fall off the edge. Your health is really just not in a good position at this point. And you can't run backwards, so like you try to potentially get these guys in a shooting gallery where they would all line up, and it doesn't work so well. You really do want to upgrade your bullet capacity. You can double tap to kick these doors open, by the way. That's what I'm doing, have been doing by default. Yeah. And that is kind of the problem playing on normal, is that we're going to have to start all over in that conflict. There's just a lot of people. So let's try something different here. Apparently I didn't buy any of the upgrades and didn't take the rifle, so let's I guess just upgrade the... I swear I saved after buying all that stuff.
Got something that might interest you. Got a selection of... What are you buying?
Handgun firepower,
Thank you.
firing speed, and reload speed.
Thank you.
Shotgun firepower,
Thank you. Not enough cash,
reload speed.
stranger. What are you
Sell
selling?
the spinels and the pearl pendant
Thank you.
and
Is that all?
the first aid spray.
Thank you. What are you
Buy a bigger
Thank you.
case.
Not enough cash, stranger. Is that all, stranger? Is that all, stranger? Is that all?
It's interesting that it defaults. So can I, with what I've upgraded, get to 12,000? Or have I locked myself into a problem here?
Is that all, stranger? Thank you. Is that all? Thank you. Is that all? Thank you. What are you buying? Is that all?
So now I've sold a lot more things.
Thank you.
I could still not buy the TMP, which would be your other option. Or the scope.
What are you buying? Not enough cash. Stranger.
We would still need 10,000 to increase the
What are you
firepower
selling?
on the rifle, which maybe you don't need right now. Alright, so that puts us in a different position. Different decisions. Potentially not taking much of a different response. Let's go back and go in here and save this time. And we'll make it a new save. Right. The move here is to try, I think, and there is a system here to better lay out items. Move here, I think, is to try and take out more people with a shotgun than I was trying there. Alright. Notice how he just kind of casually walked right in front of me. And then let's go with like one guy. That's not what we wanted to have happen. But yeah, ideally, you're just trying to headshot a bunch of these more static characters. It might really be more of a case where you should just run. Anyways, that it may really be more of an infinitely spawning amount or a location triggering amount. Let's see if we can find one more thing to shoot at. As far as enemies. Nope. Okay. So the hope would be then we could talk to this guy. Tune up rifle capacity for 6,000 OE. We would need 7,000 more, 700 more. That would not quite get us there. So, yeah, no problem, no solution around that. So then that just leaves us there. Let's run over this way. That guy blew up before he could reach me. And this other guy is... Let's try and just fish in the barrel him. Of course, the problem with that is like this is a emblem we need. Alright. And you can see that guy's just really going around in circles. This really is going to highlight the problem with just trying to get enough bullets, so that there just aren't that many in the game. And I can't remember, but I kind of feel like there might be a somewhat dangerous thing to do if I go into this building. But I don't remember what it is. Yeah. Doing anything short of just unloading on all these guys is a mistake. Yeah, I think the mistake, very possibly, is that you just get boxed in. A lot of these levels are very much situated in such a way that it really takes a lot of familiarity with the game, like just something that you normally would not have on the first playthrough to actually succeed. These ladders obviously helping you get headshots. The music goes away, so I'm assuming that is that. But you don't know for certain if that is that. It is still very possible that you run up this way and then that triggers the music again. Oh, and we should definitely check the map to see if there are any treasures. Yeah. So we got the treasures that we need to get so far. And we'll have to get some more later. So just like a small possibility and worry that you would end up here and have to engage again. I suspect because you haven't taken the TMP, you won't get as much TMP ammo. That's not to say you won't get any. I guess this would have been a way which you could have jumped down this way, jumped down that way. And I think I've definitely gotten all the treasures, but I think I've also gotten all the pickup items that you could get in this area. So now it's time to run back to the merchant and see if we can upgrade our capacities and get some full refills or close to full refills as far as our bullets. Because until we can upgrade the firepower more, which there's a limiting factor there, bullets will be a scarcity until they stop being a scarcity. Sometimes that takes an entire new game plus before every gun is no longer really scarce on bullets, and the rocket launcher obviously will always be scarce on bullets.
What are you selling?
Flash grenade.
Is that all? Thank you.
A flash grenade for 500. If you throw it at the right place where a group of crows are, might actually be worth a little bit more.
What are you buying? Is that all, stranger?
Capacity upgrade gives us full bullets there. Capacity
Is that
upgrade
all, stranger?
gives us full bullets there.
Thank you.
And we would need 6,000 more to upgrade this, which sucks.
What are you selling?
Really shouldn't be that big of a surprise. As we upgrade things, the guns are getting more and more valuable, so if you were going to sell, that would be nice.
What are you buying?
But it's not something you really should do. We're hardly in a great position, though, as far as room. Go ahead and just lock that in and reload. That way we'll take less bullets, and arguably we should probably put the health things up here, and things that are less likely to change on the right. And then there is definitely an argument for faster selections of weapons by putting all the weapons next to each other, and then that moves everything into a smaller section of squares there. This is a key item, so obviously you have to combine the two, so then you have a Salazar. And this is another great point where textures from the HD remake probably shine, but you probably wouldn't remember either. Like, inherently, this fan-made HD remake It's just making the game feel like the way you would have expected it to feel anyways. So it's just setting a reality closer to your nostalgia than it is compared to actually blowing you out of the water and showing you something that feels brand new and different. There is another room, and then another room, and then another room. Pretty much it is just encounter after encounter after encounter in this game. And it works very well, I would say, because you are heavily pushed forward. I would be very surprised if there was that many people ever that got bored of this game and didn't make it to the end, because it is just a lot of action a mile a minute. It doesn't have a ton of falling action or slow points. It is the epitome of an action game. It is the grandfather of action games, breaking very far away from more of a horror and strategy experience that you were having to clunk through in something like Resident Evil 1, or most games even at the time of Resident Evil 4. There were definitely games with a lot more action in them, but as far as action third-person shooters, Resident Evil 4 established that, or at least set the baseline for the establishment of that kind of game. And we still play a lot of games like that still today, although RPG elements are somewhat lackluster in this game, and weapon wheels and a lot of technology seems to be very rough or just completely missing in this game, because it's so first generation. Yeah, and I guess as a video game critic, I'm more sitting back and just enjoying this game than I really am trying to criticize it. I could certainly say that encounter, like many encounters, has a little bit too many waves of people, and it's not realistic waves of people. There are definitely people that are spawning in the corners you're not looking, or spawning inside of buildings and then running out of the buildings. I do not believe for the 20 to 30 people we killed in that area there really were 20 or 30 people, or that there was any kind of strategy where I could have actually sniped 20 or 30 people with the rifle and killed them all before I even raised an alarm. You get the feeling like that was supposed to be an encounter where you could potentially not raise an alarm, but that kind of doesn't happen in this game. There might be a point where you get a silencer in this game. I don't think you do. I think you get laser sights instead. And yeah, this is definitely not a game for stealth. There could have been a stealth section or two or more in the game, but that section would have definitely have been the points where you were playing as Ashley, and in the remake I imagine those sections will be abridged or just non-existent. Yeah, and yeah, that's about as much criticism as I'm willing to even say, because nostalgia really stops me from seeing any other problems with that encounter for the game for its time. In a more modern version of this game, you would get on the roof of the building and potentially sniper a lot more people, and it would focus more on being a sniper since you just got that weapon. I think you pretty much are free to use the sniper rifle, or the rifle. It's not even got a scope on it, so I don't know if you really would call it a sniper rifle. You're free to use it anywhere you want to use it going forward in the game, but for the vast majority of the village, your handgun is going to be your main weapon. For the vast majority of most of the game, some handgun is going to be your main weapon. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.